I never believed in ghosts. That was something I always told myself, until that night. It started like any other shift. The hum of fluorescent lights, the distant beeping of heart monitors, the sterile scent of antiseptic lingering in the air. I worked as a night nurse at St. Augustine's Hospital, a relic of an institution that had been around since the early 1900s. Parts of it had been renovated, but the East Wing, the one they shut down years ago, remained untouched. That wing was a dead zone. No one went there unless absolutely necessary. Rumors swirled among the staff, stories of shadows that moved on their own, of whispers echoing through the empty halls. I always dismissed them as superstition, but deep down, I think we all knew. There was something wrong with that place. I was halfway through my shift, sipping my third cup of bad hospital coffee, when the call light for room 409 blinked on. My stomach twisted. That room had been empty for weeks. I grabbed my clipboard, my feet hesitating before I forced myself down the hall. The air felt thick, charged. The fluorescent bulbs flickered as I approached the door. I knocked softly. "Hello? Is someone there?" No answer. I exhaled and pushed the door open. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the city outside. The bed was perfectly made, untouched. I checked the bathroom, empty. Just as I turned to leave, something flickered in the corner of my eye. The call button on the wall depressed, by itself. The air turned ice cold. My breath hitched as I stared at the button, my pulse pounding. My rational mind fought for an explanation. Maybe a wiring issue? Maybe a prank? But the room smelled different now, musty like old bandages and something coppery. Then I heard it, a whisper, soft, raspy, right behind me. "Help me." I spun around so fast my clipboard clattered to the floor. No one was there. My breathing was uneven, my body screaming at me to run. Instead, I forced myself to scan the room, flipping on the lights. Everything was normal. The bed, the chairs, the fourth stand. But the scent of old blood lingered, and that whisper, God, that whisper, still rang in my ears. I practically sprinted to the nurse's station. My colleague, Linda, raised an eyebrow. "You look like you saw a ghost?" I forced out a laugh, but it sounded hollow. Room 409's call button went off. "No one's in there." Linda's expression darkened. "Yeah, that happens sometimes." "What do you mean?" She lowered her voice. "Back in the 80s, there was a patient, Thomas Greaves. He was terminal, but he kept pressing his call button over and over, saying he saw something in the room with him. The nurses thought he was hallucinating, but one night they found him dead." I swallowed hard. "What did he die from?" Linda hesitated. "His chart said respiratory failure, but the weird thing? His face looked like he died mid-scream." A shiver crawled up my spine. That night I told myself I wouldn't go near 409 again, but the hospital had other plans. The elevator incident. Around 3 a.m., I was making my rounds when the elevator doors dinged open beside me. I wasn't going anywhere, I hadn't pressed the button, but when I glanced inside, my stomach turned to ice. A man stood in the elevator. His skin was grayish, his hospital gown wrinkled and stained. His eyes were dull, sunken, like he hadn't slept in years. "Going down?" he rasped. My entire body locked up. Every instinct screamed at me to not step inside. The doors started to close, and for a moment I thought I was free. But just before they shut completely, the man's face twisted. His mouth stretched too wide, his eyes rolling back as he let out a guttural wheeze. Then, darkness. The hospital lights flickered out. For 3 long seconds I stood there, frozen in pitch-black silence. When the power came back, the elevator was empty. I was done. I told Linda I felt sick and was leaving early. She didn't question it. Maybe she saw the fear in my eyes. I grabbed my bag from the locker room and headed down the hallway toward the exit. But as I passed the East Wing, something stopped me cold. A shadow, not cast on the floor or the walls, but standing. It had the shape of a man, but was darker than the unlit corridor behind it. And then, it moved. The shadow stepped forward. I bolted. I ran down the hall, my heart hammering, the air behind me colder than ice. When I reached the main exit, I yanked the door open and stumbled outside, gasping for breath. I turned back just once. The east wing's window loomed in the darkness, its glass reflecting nothing but black. Then a face appeared, sunken eyes, a mouth stretched in a silent scream. By the time I got home, my hands were still shaking. I forced myself to drink some water, to rationalize. Maybe I was exhausted. Maybe I had imagined it. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have left me." My blood turned to ice. I stared at the message, my mind racing. My fingers trembled as I typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I called in sick. I needed time to process, to convince myself it was all just stress. Then I got a call from Linda. "Hey, weird question. Did you leave your ID badge at work?" I frowned. "No, I have it here." There was a long pause. Then, "Who just used your access card to check into room 409? I never went back to St. Augustine's. I quit that day. I don't know what I saw that night. A ghost? A warning? Something worse? All I know is sometimes the past doesn't rest. Sometimes the dead don't stay buried. And sometimes when a hospital call button goes off in an empty room, someone is still waiting for help. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this creepy tale and want more spine-chilling stories, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps support the channel. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new horror story. And we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Have you ever experienced something paranormal? Let's talk about it.